This video is sponsored by Bityard. With over 400 cryptocurrencies to choose from on their spot exchange, dozens of USDT pairs for futures trading, perpetual coin futures, trade commodities like gold, silver and oil, Forex, and major indices like Nasdaq. You can buy crypto from Bityard with over 50 different fiat currencies, using Visa, MasterCard, Google or Apple Pay. If you like, you can use their copy trade facility, follow other traders who will execute trades on your behalf, or become a copy trader yourself. So if you want a bit of that, click the link in the description. Hello everybody, welcome back. So we had a bit of a pullback on the old Bitcoin yesterday, and it looks like we might already at this stage now be hitting the resistance. That remains to be seen. There's plenty going on throughout the rest of the day. We avoided having that short signal on the Chiku span. We've been looking closely at this particular area, 39,300. We want to see candle body closures below there, which would allow for the Chiku span to close below there. That would effectively initiate a short signal on the daily, which could potentially pull it right back down to, you know, lower 30s, and that's something we were talking about on the live stream last week, saying that if that criteria gets met, I would expect lower 30s to be inevitable. It wouldn't be an immediate short signal as in like, oh, go short right now, but usually these things play out quite well. But we didn't get it, so we can't really talk about it. But we are, I say, bouncing from the bottom of this Bollinger Band area. We're back within inside this trend line. We're back within this channel, and we've so far not got the short signal. So for the moment, we're still going to be ranging within this center kind of range of the what I consider to be the overall accumulation, which in all fairness could start as low as 28,000, but we'll just call it 32 to about 52. A nice $20,000 range for you there. But today we're just going to talk about SXP. So yesterday on that pullback, the dump, the crash, or whatever you want to call it, the continuation, we being the royal we, got our order filled on SXP. I've been waiting for a little while on this one. We've had a giant consolidation from the overall peak last May, so it's consolidating for over a year. Many coins have this a similar kind of setup to this. Now this isn't bullish, I have to say. This is not a bullish setup, but it's an appropriate area for me to take on some risk. And I feel like, you know, SXP has done us a great deal. I mean, basically, I had SXP to BNB on one of Bitsgap's grid bots, and it made me, well, I mean, it made a lot of money. It was effectively creating 2 BNB profit a day back then, and that's how I managed to, for the most part, turn 1,000 into 50,000 into a 4-month period through the trading bots. And so SXP for me has, you know, it's you know, we have fond memories together, and it worked out quite well. So I kind of always feel like I owe it to SXP to have a little bit of SXP in my portfolio, and I've not had any in a long time, over a year now. So now I've got some back, so I'm part of that club again. And to be honest with you, I mean, looking at this chart, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's a giant consolidation. It's, you know, it's effectively, you know, this doesn't really count, this is all FOMO pump. But this uptrend was genuine, and it was decent, and it was real. This is not an uptrend, obviously, but what it is a breakout of a consolidation, potentially into an accumulation, and we're better to try it than the support of the descending triangle. You know, it might not work, but at this stage now, the consolidation is largely over, and this could be the bottom. I'm not saying it is, because it's all dependent on the market being Bitcoin, which is dependent on traditional markets, which is have very negative reactions to the strength of the Dixie, which is all to do with Federal Reserve monetary policy and blah blah blah. It's endless chain of events, like playing a game of, you know, just it's like watching dominoes fall, really, and that's what it is. So I'm at the end of I'm the last domino of the chain here. So, you know, this is SXP being an altcoin, and a relatively volatile one at that. So let's face facts. You know, let's not look at this chart and take it as a dogmatic approach to the way it's going to work. We do have to think outside of this chart, which is Bitcoin, traditionals, Dixie, and then on top of that, whatever Mr. Powell's going to say or do. But risk to reward, you got to give it a go. You know, I'm not trying to catch the absolute bottom, but an educated guess would tell me that this might be close to the bottom, and so we're going to give it a go. And again, I'm not looking for an instant way straight to the moon. I think this is what a lot of people just who tune into the channel don't seem to understand here, is that an entry point is one thing, an exit point is another, and during between those two events is time, right? It's time, right? And so I think people watch these videos and go, well, I've finished watching the video and it was down 5% by the time you're... Can't comprehend that actually when it comes to actually buying or a stock or anything, that there does have to be a degree of time that passes in order for you to realize some serious gains. And on this, again, we're not buying into an uptrend, are we? No, we're not. We're buying into a low, and the reason we buy the low without an uptrend is because educated guess would tell me that there is a chance that we could be bottoming around this area. We found tops around this area in the past. We also found bottoms around here in the consolidation. Consolidation has come to an end, and so if we were to find a bottom around anywhere, the first place we would go for would be here. And again, it's not the only place, it's the first place. You dollar cost average into it. So what we'd be looking for now would be focusing on effectively Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is leading the market. We are at the Bollinger Band Center on the daily at the moment. All moving averages are down. They're all effectively in the wrong place for any kind of uptrend to begin. I believe in the accumulation, which is in this giant $20,000 range, 32 to 52 effectively. And while we're still within this range, anything can happen. We could come down to the bottom, we could go straight to the top, we could hang around in the middle. Any of it is possible. I'm not looking for any major uptrends to begin in crypto anytime soon. It just doesn't seem plausible, doesn't seem particularly likely. We could move up 20%, we could move down 20%, or we could just basically go sideways and static. Seems to me that the next Federal Reserve meeting, where they're going to decide what rate hike they're going to do, and I think they're going to go for the 50 basis points. They project that in some point in May. The markets are effectively pricing that in at the moment. So I would imagine that fundamentally, given what the markets like to price these events in prior to the event taking place, I would imagine that yeah, we might have a little bit of a bounce today. You call it turnaround Tuesday, don't you, after a red Monday? We might have a little bit of continuation today, operative word being might. US markets open, that's going to be a time to focus on what price action is actually going to do, depending on how they open. But leading into May, it's going to be similar to how when we were consolidating for Bitcoin leading into March. I said, look, there's the rate hike will begin in March. It's a sell the rumor, buy the news event, and that's kind of what it ended up being. It wasn't a big turnaround, but there was certainly a decent move anyway. And so we'll be looking for the same kind of event to take place here. Sell the rumour, buy the news. Now, the majority of the rumour has already been sold. I think participants in this market are unwilling to sell an enormous amount more because the projection for Bitcoin is almost certainly going to be higher in the future. So this is effectively still the spring sale for Bitcoin, even at this particular level. Remember, when in doubt, zoom out and it gives you an idea of where this actually goes. It's one of those charts, you know what I mean? It's just one of those charts. Only up. This is just the Bitcoin chart for Binance, You go to Bitstamp, it's even more dramatic. And look, there's lots of stocks and commodities and other things that do that too. It's not just Bitcoin that only goes up. It's not the only thing in the world that only goes up. It just seems to, historically go up way more than everything else as far as gains are concerned. But the larger the market cap, the lesser the gains are going to be. But let's face it, fundamentally the reason it's going to go up is because of the nature of it and the circulating supply slowly but surely dwindling away, and the capped supply of 21 million and all those lovely things that Michael Saylor likes to point towards. And it's all true. But like I say, Bitcoin's not the only chart that only goes up. There's many charts that only go up, and there's reasons for that. Anyway, so Bitcoin is, let's just face it, only going to go up. But in the short term, it's going to go up and down, up and down, up, down, and up and down. And this is going to be felt across the board for all stocks, all cryptos. There'll be the odd one that moons because someone does something or says something, or a special mainnet arrives, or I don't know, something will happen. But generally the market's going to follow Bitcoin, and so I'm not under any illusion that the SXP can't go down further if Bitcoin decides to do it. And if it were to go down further, it would probably be quite dramatic. It would probably be moving down to these previous levels of support around 80 cents, which is, like I say, pretty harsh. For somebody like me that bought around $1.12. So I'll be looking for a 29% retrace from my entry point. And guess what? I won't be crying, guys. I won't be crying. Do you know what I'll be doing? I'll be buying. Not crying, I'll be buying. Alright? So, look, at the end of the day, crypto's kind of on its ass at the moment. That's fine. If anything, what we do at this stage now is consider accumulating things that we really like, or come down to acceptable lows like this one. I made a video about Jasmy. I feel quite strongly about buying those particular lows as well. But I'm not looking for immediate uptrends. And so remember, by the time you've finished watching this video, don't expect it to have already gone to the moon. When we are looking at accumulating during these lows down here for a projection of potentially maybe even 4 to 6 months before any kind of serious gains have started. I'm not looking for anything major at any point soon. Remember, Bitcoin's leading the market, and Bitcoin is being dragged behind traditional markets, which are all at the mercy of the Federal Reserve monetary policy, which unfortunately is going to be a matter of tightening between now and probably the beginning of next year. So let's face it, on a fundamental level, there's not any reason why anything should particularly moon hard this year, right? There's not really any reason for that, unless, of course, things really do start to turn around and gain momentum. But you might end up regretting not picking certain things up or down at these low levels, even though, even with this that we're looking at, we are risking a potential 30% drop before the next level of support, and then we'll have to see where we go from there. It's not the perfect buy. I know the majority of people recognise this, and obviously the people on my Patreon, we talk about it in depth and at length. But you know, when you come into making spot positions, dollar cost averaging is a good way to do it for, you know, somebody who's not particularly interested in trading. But the next stage of dollar cost averaging is effectively buying incrementally on the way down and selling incrementally on the way up. And this is all I really ever do, and it's enough to cause me to basically do this for a living. Very relaxing style of trading. Obviously, time is the main component to these sort of gains. But obviously, I've been in the market for several years now, and throughout that, I've lived through many alt seasons and pumps, and so, you know, time these days I can take things at a leisurely pace. I appreciate if you're just getting stuck into the market now, you want to make some fast gains, it's probably not the time to be looking at that. But if you're looking for big gains, I truly do feel as though buying down at these low levels for some of these coins, especially something like this, it could end up yielding like a 10x maybe. The 5x would be more appropriate target for this. And I know for some people they look at, I don't know, some people on Twitter and go, but they've made a 100x, and you're only looking for a 5x. Well, yeah, 5x, if you think about it, it's a pretty decent return. I know somebody out there who makes a 100x. And I've made I've made a few 100x's in the past, but they're far and few between. What you really want to think about is realistic entries and realistic exits. And like I say, I feel like this is a realistic entry, and realistic exits would begin probably around $2 and then incrementally up, as we can see very clear areas of resistance at $2, $3.20, $4.10, and then obviously all-time high $5.50, and see where we go from there. Buy low, sell high. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Patreon members, I'll be streaming tonight. If you want to become a member, there's links in the description. Otherwise, I hope you all have a nice day, and take it easy.